Hi guys, welcome to Facebook Live. This is our regular Facebook Q&A session that we have with our special guest at REIM, Real Estate Investor Magazine, and I'm pleased to have a doyen in the industry and also a very good friend of mine, Mike Greeff. And for those of you that don't know Mike, Mike has been in the industry for almost 3 decades. I think it's in excess of 3 decades, Mike. He runs and owns, he's the CEO of a company which he started off in 2001 on his dining room table. Yeah, on his dining room table, it was a one-man show. He's built it up into a fantastic agency based here in Cape Town. And he will tell us a little bit about that before we get to all your questions about investments and property here and where to invest in Cape Town. So today, it's quite an auspicious occasion because Mike, in fact, won the Affiliate of the Year competition. Now, Greeff Properties developed, and you can maybe tell us that history a little bit now, exactly when, Mike, around about 3.5, 4 years ago. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but he just won the auspicious Affiliate of the Year award with Christie's International Real Estate. So the company is now called Greeff Christie's International Real Estate Company, and starting off from one person, he's built it up to over 120 staff members and employees and agents, etc. So first of all, I want to say, Mike, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you, and also there's a great opportunity, I think, for everybody out there to ask some questions, and we've already got some questions that we'd like to ask. But I think maybe just tell us a little bit about the history of Greeff Properties that moved into Greeff Christie's International Real Estate Company.
Thank you, Neil. I'm very privileged to be on the show, and I know that it's taken around 12 years to get here.
Well, you made it. That's great, Mike.
But very, very pleased to be on here. So I started the business in 2001.
Yeah.
And in 2011, we actually became a Christie's affiliate. But in 2001, I came from a place of having worked for Pam Golding for 3 odd years, and then for Greeff as the regional director in a partnership. And unfortunately, that came to an end. And as much as I thought it was the worst thing in the world for me at the time, it became a major positive in the fact that I had to go on my own.
Right.
And I found that a lot of the agents that I've been working with, very good agents, didn't want to be in a big corporate environment, and they came to join me as they trusted me and they knew me well. And I built that rapport with them, and we grew unbelievably. In the first year, we did 110 million. Mm-hmm. In the second year, and that was with 2 people, myself and one other. And then the second year, we went to 340, and the third year to 420 million.
Fantastic.
So we had a great growth period in the spurt, and we caught the market at the right time. Very lucky.
Mm-hmm. So Mike, maybe just let's go back a few years, first of all, where it all started, because you started also flipping houses, well, basically renovating them, fixing them up and selling them on. Tell us a little bit about that. Just let's go back to that period.
So early on in my 20s, I started buying up little places in Harfield and Linfrey, and I found out that I did very well out of them when I didn't do any form of renovation, because that took time, cost of money, etc. So my philosophy was to buy well and sell well. Very simple. That meant you have to do your homework, find out what it is, and find someone who really is prepared to come down because they need to move for some or other reason.
Right.
And release their capital.
Right. So tell us just a little bit of insights on that. I mean, you were successful in that. So maybe if you had to share, say, a few nuggets, 1 or 2 that maybe people can use out there and say, okay, I also want to do that, Mike, what you've just said, where you started. How do I do it? What do I do? How do I get going on something like that?
First of all, you've got to speak to a company called Better Bond and find out what kind of bond you're going to get.
So mortgage originator.
Mortgage originator. They are one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the country. We are very linked in with them. Mm-hmm. So they always help us with these things.
Right.
And then you've got to find out what area you want to buy in. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of, in this country at the moment, kind of an emerging market where we find that Clifton and the big price tickets are not moving like they were. We're in that cycle at this point. And therefore getting properties at about, $1 million, 1.6, 2 million rand is where the action's still happening in certain areas.
Right.
So you've got to identify those areas and then, find the right kind of investment in there. And my philosophy was the less I did, the better it was. I buy well, sell well. So to go in there and renovate and turn it around, unless you have a flat where you've got a big 1-bedroom and you want to make it into a 2-bedroom, it's understandable in this market, but at our time that wasn't possible.
Right. Okay, well, that's great advice. I think also part of the whole bond originating thing is getting your finance ready, isn't it? Getting yourself finance ready, and I think that's the benefit of using mortgage originators is that they can take all your finances on behalf of the bank. You don't have to go directly to them. And in fact, they work through your agents, don't they? With your agents actually play that role and facilitate that between the mortgage originator and obviously the banks.
But it also means, it means that you can go and make a cash offer.
Right.
Where it still means something if people don't have to go and get bonds, etc. It's an upfront thing that you organize so that you are in place and know exactly where you're going. You have a one-up on many other buyers that are trying to buy.
Okay, excellent. Great. So guys, what we're going to do now is, so Mike, I mean, I just want to also get you to elaborate a little bit more on this award, because, I mean, this is pretty special. I mean, you're a South African-based company, and you're with an international company, Christie's International. I mean, and you got the Affiliate of the Year Award for 2018. I mean, tell us about that. And where were you?
Well, firstly, the only prize I've ever won in my life was a perseverance prize at school.
Right.
And so I'm very persistent, and I stay with things when I believe that they are the right route to go.
Right.
And getting Christie's wasn't an easy feat.
Right. I can imagine.
Christie's took about 3 years to get hold of, and they said we don't exist. And we then had the World Cup soccer, and 4 billion people watched it. And then I went back to them and I said, but surely now they must know us.
Yes.
And then I got it for Cape Town. And it meant a lot to me in the sophistication of, a 300-year-old company that has survived through all sorts of cycles and come out on top as being one of the main brands of middle to upper income group property companies in 141 odd countries with 141 companies around the world.
Wow. That
kind of sell over $1 million. So you can't really compare it to rands. It would be like 1 million rands.
Sure.
But very, very well networked, very, I'd say, highly qualified people that really know what they're doing, very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And so that meant that we had to raise our level with our agents and our company to get to that level as well, which I believe retains agents and it puts them in another class.
Right.
Because this country needs foreign investment.
Yes.
And with beautiful houses that we have, they definitely will get on a plane, they'll come on the plane, and then they'll see Christie's when they arrive, and they want to work with a company like Christie's.
Right.
Christie's, to them, they understand like Marmite and peanut butter.
Yeah.
They understand it.
Absolutely. So you were at the Palace of Versailles.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So
to receive that award.
To receive the award, yes.
Yeah.
It was quite incredible. We had to walk through the whole palace, and then we came to a very large room where all these tables were laid out, and it was unbelievable. It really was incredible.
Right.
I've been to other Christie's functions, and the one in London 2 years ago was also out of this world.
Right.
And so I've arrived in a place that I was sitting down, and unbeknown to me, there was a photographer who was getting ready to see the shock on my face.
Yes.
When I got the award.
Yes.
And I got the award, went up there, and hadn't prepared any speech for it, or I thought there's no ways.
Yeah.
But I got the prize, which really all the prize does is makes the light switch on for Greeff Properties.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a large team effort for everyone to have got to that place. We did a rebranding that's worked very well. And the prize was related to 3 or 4 things, and that was branding, energy in the team,
right.
It was turnover increase, and ours was probably the most in the whole of Christie's.
Yeah.
As we have expanded into certain areas that have made us grow as well.
Right.
And I go back to team effort, which is vitally important. I mean, I didn't win the prize on my own. There were some really clever and wonderful people in our team that helped us get to where we are.
Fantastic. Okay, so you've now got this wonderful prize. I think it's also great for South Africa as well. I think it's a coup for South Africa, and that we out there, and in the market, as you said, we needed the Soccer World Cup to sort of kind of say we're on the map.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Mike, I think what we're going to now do is to the next part of the show. We've got a few questions, and I encourage you to obviously put questions on the right. We are live now. If we don't get to all the questions, we will answer you later on our Facebook page. It's the Real Estate Investor Magazine Facebook page. And so I'm going to ask, first of all, we've got quite a few pre-questions. And the whole idea is we'd like to prepare and give you a good answer. And Mike, he's the man of preparation. Okay, so Mike, maybe let's answer this first one. It's from Phoenicia Kiba, and she's asking, where can we buy property? Now, remember that Mike does operate in the Cape Town area only. We will do Johannesburg at some later stage, so he's an expert in Cape Town, and has a footprint, right around the Western Cape, the peninsula, and that kind of stuff. So, Mike, one of the questions is, where do we buy property for residential of value between 500 and 800,000 rand? Where would you say would be a good place?
Okay, Neil. I would say that depending on what you want to buy it for, if it's an investment or you want to live in it, I would come closer into areas around UCT like Woodstock, Salt River, Brooklyn, Milnerton, which are really emerging markets that are close to town.
Yeah.
And to get around to where Tableview and Blouberg have grown out to, it's quite far. But Parklands is also very up. It's really popular.
Okay.
Prices are sustainable. Yeah. And rentals are up to 10% return.
Right. Okay, and some of those, but sometimes in Cape Town it is more difficult to get to the 500 to 800,000 mark, but it is possible.
Yes,
it definitely is possible.
Yes.
So okay, great. I think that's excellent. And which would you say? Now, this is generally if we're talking first-time home buyers or first-time buyers, or even a first-time investor. What is the best suburb? And it's also a very broad question. What would you say? Which suburbs are kind of like the performing ones?
Okay, so we've moved out of the 500 to 800.
We have.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking best per se, and you're a first timer, and you're kind of saying, hey, this is going to be a winner. We know, and just from experience that you've seen capital growth pick up and good rental yields come from there. Which would be that best suburb?
Well, it obviously depends on the price that you have to invest. So it's quite varied in that angle, which is a very difficult answer to answer. Yeah. But let's say it's in the 3 to 4 million rand bracket.
Right.
And 5 million. The top hot areas like Vredehoek, Oranjezicht.
Yeah.
Areas up there where there's sectional title properties that have never really come up, or they've gone up, but they haven't gone down in this whole experience that we've had in our downturn that we've had. You can go to Linfrey, you can go to Harfield Village, you can go right out to Muizenberg, but closer to town and closer to the suburbs where there are schools is normally the place to go.
Right.
If you're a first-time homeowner and you want to be around UCT, there's Rondebosch, there's the areas around UCT, below UCT, Rosebank, very popular, Mowbray. And that's where I would look, but I could elaborate a lot more, but I think that's kind of zooming in and channeling it.
Okay, excellent. Great. And then we've got another one. Is it worth to invest in a micro unit? And I would assume a micro unit being a small, studio type apartment, 30 squares, probably 50 square meters. Or is it better to wait until you can afford something bigger? So in other words, we jump in now, rather get something small. I have a view on it, but I'm sure you got a view on it first. But Mike, what would you say?
So my view on this, Neil, would be that what you've got to do is get into the market.
Yeah.
So before you wait for enough money and the market moves up, which I believe it's going to do after the elections, all going well. Yeah. It's to get into the micro market. Yeah. And that is a flat, Woodstock, Mowbray, Rondebosch, Kenilworth, and get in.
Yeah.
Get in. I wouldn't go into the town areas with flats right now, as I believe there are going to be a lot of flats in City Bowl that are going to be competing.
Yeah.
Many projects are about to begin. So if you want to play it safe, I mean, you can go and buy it as long as you want to hold on to it for a long time and you have someone who wants to rent it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you've got to wait 2 years, which is also a good thing. But get into areas that are safer.
Right.
And that would be around the universities, the schools,
yeah,
and close to City Bowl as possible.
Yeah.
Going out to these emerging markets that I'm talking about, which, by the way, is where the action's happening.
Right. Right. Okay. So you also mentioned about you touched on the elections and that kind of stuff, because we know that at the moment the mood is not where it should be. But I'm a believer, and I'm not I'm not the general media, and they love to publish all the negative stuff out there. I generally say you've got to look beyond that, and don't get consumed with too much bad news, because it could put you in a really bad space. But yeah, there's two sides to this. There has been a lot of money that's flown out the country and that kind of stuff, and people are a little bit concerned. But let's talk about, I'm certainly upbeat, and I've spoken to a number of other property guys who are saying, listen, we're going nowhere as property developers. What is your view? How do you feel? You think we're at the bottom now? Because if you're at the bottom, maybe it's a time to buy.
There's never a bottom if you buy well.
Yeah.
So, and buy in the right position.
Okay.
And if you're prepared to hold on to the property for 5 years, you'll catch an upcycle.
Right.
So I definitely believe that the time is to buy now.
Right. So you are sort of quite upbeat about in terms of the elections, and things are going to settle down in South Africa, and we're going to see some great economic growth. Are you confident on that sort of side of things?
I'm very confident.
Okay.
I think that this country is always up and down, and we get flight mode. We've just sold a property recently to someone who comes from Britain, and it's for over 60 million rand.
Yeah,
and they come to live here with a lifestyle. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are people that have had enough of things. Europe has got its own problems. Australia's got its problems. America's got its problems.
Yeah.
And if not, they're also on the cusp now because of trade.
Yeah.
And so the whole world is a smaller place right now.
Right. Yeah.
And the lifestyle that we have in this country, and the benefits that we have of living in this beautiful city and country. Yes. We're going nowhere. We building.
Fantastic. That's good. And that's what we also propose. We are proponents of positivity here and real estate investor, because you've got to look at the other side. Is the glass half full or half empty? And there are different views on that. But I think that's another debate. Okay, we've got some more questions here, and it's from Liani. Starting out a property business is a lot about good timing. Now, it seems like a really tough time out there. Okay, we touched on that a little bit. Do you still think there's opportunity for property entrepreneurs? Well, I would say absolutely, but yeah, maybe you want to, yeah.
How do you pronounce his name?
It's Liani.
Liani,
yeah.
Hi. Liani, as I say, there's never a good time. So it just depends on how you set your sales when you go out, and you keep your costs under control, and you have a war chest so that you can not have to even think about looking to banks to borrow money. So I think there's never a bad time, but you have to get into the right market, and a market that is emerging, and get very good agents, train them, qualify them, and train them, and stay very close to them, because they are your customers, as well as your as well as the customers that are out there. Your agents are customers, and they need to be looked after and not thought of as competing against them. They need to be in your stable, and you need to really take care of them.
And I also have a view of being sort of counter-cyclical. Do everything opposite whatever is happening out there. And so, yeah, we got a question here again from Candace, and it says, do you think it is better to invest in Cape Town or in Johannesburg? Now, obviously, being in Cape Town, we're going to be a bit biased. I've invested in Johannesburg and Cape Town, personally, but maybe you got to, I don't know what your views on that are. We are biased. Cape Town we love. But what
depends on where you live.
Yes.
I mean, I think you should always stay very close to where you live. So if anything goes wrong, you can drive in your car and go and see it. That's the best philosophy in real estate, is to be able to go and see your property very quickly to see if there's a problem and what the problem is.
That's I was always taught it's like the 20-minute rule, be 20 minutes from where your investments are. Because unfortunately, there is property management issues. Things do go wrong from time to time. And so either you've got an agent who's handling it on your behalf, or if you need to get involved, that you can get close and you can sort it out. So I think it's a really good question, that. And I mean, personally, I invested quite a lot of property in Johannesburg, and I had exactly that problem. So it was, the distance thing was, I was highly reliant on the property management team, and I was, they dropped the ball a few times. But it's not to say that you shouldn't, and you can get a system of doing that. I like to go where there's good deals and that kind of stuff. And
it's also where you know your market. Like, I don't know your market if you live in the Transvaal or in Gauteng. I don't know that market as well as I know mine. And mine hasn't had a bad effect as yours has, I believe. So yours has come down a hell of a lot more than what ours has. But the fact of the matter is that now it could be the time to buy there, because it is so down. And people's sentiments aren't where they should be at the moment. And that is very positive about what's going on. We've had incredible change in South Africa. And it's all worked out for the best. We've got wonderful people in South Africa that really are mind-blowing, with incredible talent that we need to enhance and be with and be around.
Excellent. Okay, we've got another question here from James. James Woolley. It says, are you investing in buy-to-let in 2019, and if so, where? Okay, so I think, everything's very personalized, and I'm going to get Mike to give his views as well. I mean, there's a lot of negativity at the moment around buy-to-let. If we start looking at the stats from FNB, the figures show that there's less people investing in buy-to-let. But the real investors, the guys who are active all the time, are always playing in that market, and they're always finding opportunities all the time. Where to invest, there's not a, I say that there's not sort of a silver bullet sort of answer to that. But I think, Mike, maybe you should just elaborate a little bit what your views are if you had to invest in buy-to-let specifically. So in other words, not to live, to rent it out and put a tenant in this year, where would you do that?
I would do it in areas like Plumstead, Bergfleet, Constantia Lower. I would do it in, we've got a beautiful development in Chapman's Bay in Noordhoek, where it's a security. I'd also recommend you buy security and blocks of flats as security as well. But try and buy in a security environment, because it's much more popular than anything else at the end of the day right now. That's what I would do. You
see, one of the things I've seen, there's a massive trend, and that's people, there's more than one person living in a house. So you could buy a house and you could have multiple lets, and it's something which I see is actually a growing trend. And I don't know whether you're seeing people buying bigger houses and converting it into multiple. I mean, we've seen it in the student accommodation area, but I'm talking about now multiple accommodation. It's quite a big trend which is happening in Johannesburg. Big plots in like areas like Bryanston, big houses are now being sold to developers, and developers are putting multiple units in. So I think you've got to do your homework. I'm not going to give you one flat answer, and it's quite the most successful investors, in my view, really do their homework properly. I think you mentioned it earlier on, in terms of getting that right information, using the agents to get as much information. Talking, getting stats, getting Lightstone stats, seeing what the buy and sell information is like, and even work with the agents. The agents have got access to that. I mean, Mike has got, I don't know how many agents you got, over 100.
About 140.
140 agents. I mean, and they're all experts. I met a number of them, and in different areas, So I think it's a matter of doing your homework. There's not really a cut and dried answer here.
There's one other thing. We are busy looking at a development in Goodwood, and there are about 60 units that are going to come on. It'll be built. It'll be ready in a year or so.
Yeah.
That is the kind of development that I would go for.
Right.
Not sure of pricing yet, but it's not going to be significant at all.
Yeah.
So that is a good rental of around 10% you might get back.
Yeah, and that could be in that 500 to 800 mark that I think that was alluded to earlier on.
And you find that people don't want to go so far out now, Neil.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, it is stretching right on.
The whole travel issue.
The travel issue is an issue, and people want to be closer to their work. We're finding a lot of people in Mitchell's Plain are now buying in Wynberg.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because they want, to be closer to their schools and work.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. So that's really interesting, really good information. There's a number of developments that are coming online, and I know some are not doing that well, but that's an opportunity. I always say talk to the developer when the market's a bit down. I think it's going to turn, and I really do. I think we're at this point now where it's getting that timing right. If you came, I mean, that was one of my successes back in 2001 and 2. I bought initially 12 and then another 10 units directly from a developer. And they were struggling at that time. It was just after 98. We had very high interest rates, 25.5, but we recovered from that. I mean, look where we are now at 10.5% or whatever interest rate. So I think it could be almost a bit of a repeat of that. If you get in now, very low interest rates, and the market picks up, you're gonna reap those benefits. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that the prices are definitely always going to go up. You will be in a cycle, and there might be turmoil. There might be a bit of trouble in the election process. But when people feel scared and they have fear and they feel vulnerable, they land up in a situation of just doing nothing and shutting down on everything. That's not going to help in far as investing goes right now.
Yes,
I think there are people that really want to sell.
Yeah,
there are people that
that's opportunity, guys.
So when everyone doesn't want to buy, that's the time to buy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, guys. So if there's any more questions, please post it on the right-hand side. Now, what I encourage you to do is, even after this broadcast or narrowcast, which is on our Facebook page, post the question. If you didn't want to post one live now, post it still on our page. We'll still give you an answer. We'll still ask Mike for input on his side as well. And so I encourage you to obviously engage with us on an ongoing basis. Every 2 weeks we have the Facebook Live from 11 to 11:30, and I have a guest, and obviously having Mike here is great, and getting his insight, especially after getting that prized mic. It's fantastic. And building a business from one person in 2001 to an incredible, I mean, that in itself takes, I think, Mike, there's got to be a mindset thing attached to that. I mean, you got to see you got to be optimistic.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, when I looked at doing this, a lot of people actually felt very sorry for me, because I was in a market that was established with companies that have been going 40, 55 years, and I was taking on the titans, and they like to see and support the underdog. We're still a niche market company. We don't have to take every property on the market. We take properties that we feel are well priced, and so I find other companies, they take everything on they can. But we're selective in what we do, so that what we do well. We don't want to look good. We want to be good at what we do. Yeah,
fantastic. Mike, we've got I think it's just over a minute to go. And what I'd like you to do is maybe just give some closing comments in terms of investments per se, or the property market, your thoughts, your views, or maybe your views of the country, or just in closing, something general, maybe something that can leave somebody with a golden nugget going forward.
Well, cash is king on Boulevard.
Okay. Cash is king on Boulevard.
Yes, and always leave something for the next man to take off the table.
Okay, I like your philosophy. You've got a certain business philosophy. Did you just share that with us?
Well, my philosophy is to, I think 8 years ago when this all started with Christie's, is to become a leader that really cares about the people that work in his company and want to grow with them. And I think that philosophy in looking after and doing the right things at the top all filter down to the company, where they see you leading and not leading all over the show, but leading and directing focus on what is really, really important. I mean, the market might have slowed down.
Yeah.
But our market share has gone up to 37.5%, which means that we're selling 1 in 3 homes.
Yeah.
And would like to maintain that and keep it up there. And that's not easy.
Yeah. Okay, I see there's one question that we've missed. Daniel Wenzel. Now, Daniel, you asked 3 questions there. We're going to answer you. We are running out of time. Unfortunately, we're going to have to close off on this one. But you're talking about the Durban market. But we're not going to talk about Durban because, Mike, you're not really a specialist in Durban. Probably we'll get somebody who's qualified in Durban, and we will do something for Durban. What we will do, though, Daniel, is we will answer your question on the Facebook page. I do have insights on that market, but we'll also get some specialists on that Durban market for you. Mike, I just want to thank you for the opportunity of chatting to you. It's been great. It's been great insights. It's always wonderful, and congratulations on that event, and I wish you all the well going forward. And to all our viewers out there, just a reminder, it's every fortnight we do Facebook Live. I have a mystery guest. And our next one is in 2 weeks' time, Friday, and it's from 11 to 11:30. And thank you for joining us. We will replay this, and thank you very much, Mike. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Pleasure.